It's 3 a.m. Your eyes are open. The ceiling hasn't moved, but your mind won't stop. You check the time. You do the math on how many hours of sleep you have left. You close your eyes again, and nothing happens. You start to panic, just a little, because surely something is wrong with you. Why does this keep happening, night after night, like a switch flips inside your skull at the exact same hour? You're not broken. Your ancestors did this too, every single night for most of human history. That's the part nobody tells you about sleep. You've been taught that a normal night is 8 uninterrupted hours. Lights out, lights on, nothing in between. But that idea is new. It's a few hundred years old at most, and it has almost nothing to do with how your brain actually wants to rest. Here's the reframe. Waking up in the middle of the night isn't insomnia. It isn't a disorder. For tens of thousands of years, it was simply what a night looked like. So what did ancient humans actually do when they couldn't sleep? They didn't toss and turn in silence, dreading the morning alarm. They got up. They tended the fire. They talked. Some cultures even had a name for that middle stretch of wakefulness, treating it as a normal, expected part of the night, not a flaw to fix. Let's go back further to understand why. For almost the entire span of human existence, there was no electric light. None. No phone screen glowing at midnight. No street lamp leaking through the curtains. No television humming in the next room. There was only the sun, the moon, and fire. And fire changes everything about how a body sleeps. A historian named A. Roger Ekirch spent years digging through old diaries, court records, and medical texts from pre-industrial Europe. What he found was strange at first, then obvious. Before artificial light took over the night, most people didn't sleep in one long block. They slept in two. This is called segmented sleep. In plain English, that just means sleeping in two separate chunks instead of one continuous stretch. People would lie down shortly after dark, drift off for a few hours, then wake up naturally in the middle of the night. They called this first stretch first sleep. Then came an hour or two of quiet wakefulness, sometimes called the watch, and then a second sleep carried them through until dawn. During the watch, people didn't lie there stressing about productivity. They prayed. They had quiet conversations with a spouse. They got up and stoked the fire. Some did small chores. Some simply lay in the dark thinking before drifting back under. It was woven into ordinary life, as expected as a meal. Why would a body default to this pattern? This is where the biology gets interesting. Your sleep is controlled by something called the circadian rhythm. In plain English, that's your internal clock, a roughly 24-hour cycle that tells your body when to feel alert and when to feel tired. It's run partly by a hormone called melatonin, which rises in the dark and tells your brain it's time to wind down. Without artificial light flooding your eyes at night, that clock used to behave very differently than it does now. Researchers have tested this directly. In a well-known study, a psychiatrist named Thomas Veer placed volunteers in conditions with no artificial light for 14 hours of darkness a night, mimicking the long nights of a pre-industrial winter. Within a few weeks, their sleep split apart on its own. They started sleeping in two distinct phases with a calm period of wakefulness in between, closely matching what historians found in old diaries. No coaching, no suggestion, just darkness, and the body found its old shape again. So the body has a built-in instinct here. Modern light just buried it. Now for the counterintuitive twist, because this is where most assumptions break completely. You'd think more light, more control, more comfort would mean better sleep. It hasn't. The arrival of cheap, reliable artificial lighting did something strange to the human sleep cycle. It compressed two natural phases into one forced block and told you that block had to be 8 hours, uninterrupted, or you'd failed. Gaslighting, then electric lighting, pushed bedtimes later and later. The natural watch period in the middle didn't disappear because people stopped needing it. It disappeared because there was no longer a dark enough night to trigger it. And that single shift may explain a huge amount of modern insomnia. Millions of people wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning, panic that something is wrong, and then spend the rest of the night anxious about being awake, which makes it even harder to fall back asleep. They're not malfunctioning. They're brushing up against a rhythm their ancestors lived with on purpose, except now there's no second sleep waiting for them, no shared darkness, no quiet ritual of the watch. There's just a glowing phone and a racing mind. Here's a question worth sitting with. What if the problem isn't that you woke up at all, but that you were never taught what to do with that time? Ancient humans weren't lying awake scrolling a screen or calculating how exhausted they'd be in the morning. They used the watch. Some told stories in low voices, passing along history before written language existed to do it for them. Some used the hour to think, to process the day, in a kind of slow, half-lit reflection your modern brain rarely gets the chance to have. The darkness wasn't empty. It had a function. There's also a survival logic buried in here. Anthropologists studying small-scale societies that still sleep close to a fire, like the Hadza in Tanzania, have found patterns that look a lot like that old segmented rhythm. Sleep, light wakefulness, sleep again, tracking closely with the rise and fall of the fire through the night. A fire needs tending. Tending a fire all night, every night, for a group's safety and warmth might be one of the oldest reasons your brain learned to wake partway through the dark and stay calm while doing it. So the next time you wake at 3 in the morning, here's the modern mirror worth holding up. Your body isn't betraying you. It's reaching for an old pattern that used to come with built-in permission: a fire to tend, a person to talk to, a watch to keep. The panic you feel isn't biological, it's cultural. You were taught that one unbroken block of sleep is the only correct way to rest, and that anything else is failure. Your ancestors would have found that idea bizarre. That doesn't mean you should abandon a healthy sleep schedule and start expecting 2 shifts every night. Modern life runs on a different clock now, and consistency still matters. But the next time you find yourself awake in the dark, calculating lost hours and bracing for a bad day, try something different. Don't fight it. Don't panic. Lie there. Breathe. Let your mind wander the way it was built to. You're not failing at sleep, you're remembering it. So it's 3 in the morning again. Your eyes are open, but this time you know something your ancestors knew long before you did. The dark was never empty, and neither are you.